Joe Schwieterman, DePaul University. We had a good session today talking about the inner-city bus sector, how it's positioned to grow, how it's coming off a couple of really good years, and charter and schedules are moving up together. You know, it's just, I'm old enough to remember the bad old days when scheduled service was sort of a mode of last resort. And really, since 2006, there's been a number of really surprising change of events where it's almost become cool to use the bus. And it's affecting all carriers. I mean, Greyhound, Trailways, the discount operators, Megabus, Bolt Bus, all those are seeing just big revenue growth. And I tell you, 20 years ago, you just wouldn't have seen this coming. You know, we call a perfect alignment of the stars, and it's happening. High fuel prices have been good for bus travel. People are seeing a need, especially single occupant driving. Just doesn't make sense for a lot of people. But there's other factors too. I mean, the airport hassle factor, disillusionment with air travel, so it's getting worse all the time. And people's lifestyles are changing in ways that they don't mind spending time in that coach seat. They bring their electronic technology. They come armed to use that time productively. They're tired of traffic, and that's made them willing to give up their old ways and consider taking the bus. You know, I was in the airline business, United Airlines, after deregulation, and it was just a boom industry with new carriers. That didn't happen in the bus industry. You know, 82, the deregulation, it was really 83, decade or two passed with decline. And Greyhound buys Trailways, and the operation is bankrupt, and small town service is being cut, and the magic didn't happen. I think it took technology to come together with deregulation to create that platform. And really in 06, we started to see just amazing stuff happen with new discount operators running from curb service, Greyhound launching this Greyhound Express product. You know, suddenly the industry found ways to really magnify productivity, and it's stealing market share in a big way. Well, you look at what it meant to be on a 6-hour bus, a 4-hour bus 20 years ago. It meant reading every newspaper you can find and falling asleep, and there was really, you were trapped, and people wanted that flexibility. You know, people driving 15 years ago, stop, use a payphone, get food. You know, there's plenty of ways you can kind of stay in control. Now it's the opposite, where you're in a bus seat, you're armed. You got technology, you can text, you can watch videos, you can do work, you can be at the office while being away from the office, and there's no desire to be behind the wheel. You know, where you're stuck limiting yourself to listening to music and looking at the road ahead of you. We know that's driving a lot of people to bus travel. It used to be the young, now it's older people as well. You know, 20 years ago, of course, the people with income fled scheduled service, and Greyhound and others made their stay by carrying people who lacked other alternatives. That sector still uses the bus, but young people started taking to bus travel in big ways in the mid-2000s. And now that demographic is spread. You know, we go survey ridership, we call silver surfers, older people that just don't want the hassle of driving. We're seeing families on the bus. We're seeing a lot more men traveling alone, which you didn't see until a few years ago. Out east, we're starting to see what we call the briefcase carrying business traveler, the expense account guy who's on his way to a business meeting. And that sector typically has been very loyal to the airplane and car. But boy, with the fare differences, they're starting to appear. You look at the, let's face it, as exciting as some of the hopes were for rail, just getting new services started is just proving to be really slow. And here in Chicago, we're a case study of that with big hopes and slow implementation. You look at bus, how quickly that can make happen. And commuters with express bus service, we're seeing cities embrace bus rapid transit everywhere. We're seeing them trying to develop commuter routes just because you can offer something trains can't, and that's high schedule frequency and multiple stop service downtown. You're not limited to one station. That's a big plus. Today's bus traveler is no longer people in these certain demographic groups. It's a broad boost in market demand made possible by just the appeal of having a driverless solution to get there, where you can engage in technology, you can multitask on the way. And so we've seen Services that previously specialized in one demographic group, like young people going to college, suddenly now attracting these broad demographics. And I think that's why we're thinking this sector is poised to grow, is that we have national product recognition now. Megabus, Bolt Bus, Greyhound Express, some of the new niche carriers are really positioned to keep growing. We call it a black hole, that we have perfect data on Amtrak. Airlines is the 10% ticket sample. We can analyze that in every which way, auto travel. But bus travel, there's no reporting requirements. Federal government doesn't collect. We do our best to fill that in. We keep track of how much service is out there. We survey people. We try to project based on some census numbers, and it's encouraging. But I tell you, the sector took a while for the public to notice what was happening because the data isn't there. And I think now with all the expansion, we're seeing some headlines. It's exciting. Well, right now it's looking pretty good. I mean, rail travel is stuck. High-speed rail money has stopped flowing. Airlines are facing $107 fuel. They're probably going to see a smaller airline industry this year with full planes but less flights. Auto travel, there's weird stuff happening with the numbers, that people aren't driving as much as we would think, even factoring in fuel prices. So this sector, I think we've measured for 5 years in a row, has been the fastest growing, and we think 2014, that's likely to continue. 2014 should be a good year.